Hi, it's Paris from EpicReviewGuys. It's nearly Halloween, and what are you going to do for carving a pumpkin if you don't have sharp knives? Well, our knife set is 10 years old. They are all dull, as are these scissors. 10 years old, can barely cut anything anymore. So we've decided to try out Swifty Sharp, as seen on TV. Promises to return your knives to razor sharp condition.
EpicReviewGuys.
Swifty Sharp goes for about $15. I'll put a link to it down below this video if you'd like to check it out. I actually found it over at Walmart in the As Seen on TV section. Now, it is battery powered, so it's supposed to do a good job of grinding the knives back into sharpness. And I don't know why they didn't just make it so it plugged into the wall. Seems like that would be a lot easier and provide more power for grinding. Besides which, other than Edward's scissors hand on a camping trip, who needs to bring a big motorized knife sharpener to go? And looking on Amazon, the Swifty Sharp has atrocious reviews. If my knives and scissors weren't so old and barely functional, I think I'd be afraid to try this on them. But maybe it's going to surprise me. Maybe there's just a bunch of haters over there. Let's see what we get in the box. Well, it is that shade of green. This would go so well in a kitchen sometime back in the late 60s or 70s. Takes 4 batteries, 4 AA batteries, that's how it's powered. And it's got different slots of different sizes here for the different kind of blades you might need to sharpen. Here's a close-up view of the Swifty Sharp. You can see probably the largest spot that you can put blades in, and the plastic goes down at an angle. It's supposed to push the blade against the sharpening stone at just the right angle. There are a few more here. There's one over on the side. It says for serrated blades, even though I thought you weren't supposed to use it with serrated blades. And on the end here, you can sharpen up the tips of your screwdrivers, apparently. On this side, it's supposed to be easier to use if you're right-handed because they want you to hold this in your right hand and the tool in your left, but that feels backwards to me for some reason. But anyway, you push the button, I've put the batteries in, let's see what happens here. I can see the stone in there spinning. This also comes with a little plastic tray that snaps in here. And that is to catch the metal shavings that fall off while you're doing the grinding. Reading the instructions, I find you don't use any water. They don't want you to put the blades in here wet. And I haven't tried to sharpen blades in a long time, but I remember doing them where you had to have the blade wet. In fact, they even feel they need to mention here, do not put blades into this device with food on them. As a sharpness test, I've got 2 knives. I'm going to take them and try to just cut the paper here. I would think once these are razor sharp, they should have no trouble. Nothing. Another knife. Trying to give it the best chance it can of cutting through here. Nothing. Will not cut through this paper very easily. I realized that biggest opening was for scissors. I want knife, and they have a knife setting here. But in the process, you basically twist this around the stone. It sort of comes off pretty easily as well. And so there's the actual sharpening stone with that plastic guide. And if you're sharpening household items, they do mention you can take this off and do that, but wear protective eyewear and a dust mask. So okay, we're going to line this up. I assume that's where the line goes for sharpening knives. Run into a little bit of a sticking point, as it were, in the sharpening, because they tell you to hold this with your dominant hand, and that for most people that will be their right hand. So you'll hold the knife like this. There are instructions based on where the blade is, the actual point that comes down at an angle that carries the edge, I guess you would call it, rather than the blade. And that's supposed to be either in one of these 2 different grooves based on whether it's on the right or the left, which is all okay. I can understand that. But in the picture, they show the person holding it like this, which then reverses where the blade goes. And it actually makes more sense, judging on the fact that this seems to be the front edge of the stone, that I would put this knife with the edge here into this slot. Now, this kind of confusion could be how it got such bad reviews over on Amazon, because people are grinding down the side of the blade, doesn't have the edge. So with my limited knife fight experience, I'm going to do what I think makes the most sense and put the blade with the edge on this side into the furthermost slot, which will press that edge against the stone. I think that's what's supposed to happen. We'll see if we get any shavings here, and we'll see if it improves the knife or completely destroys it. I'm supposed to do it 5 times, starting at this end and pulling it to the tip. 5 times, check for sharpness, and then do it 3 times quickly to hone it. And I will hone it, even if I ruin it. I feel like I'm mowing the lawn. How many times was that? I'm going one more. I don't know why it's not making that noise anymore, but okay. Gonna check for sharpness. Yeah, they did mention you may see little metal shavings on the blade, and I do. Okay. Back to the paper test. Oh, hey! What do you know? It didn't cut it immediately, and it does say, before I cut all the pieces here, that you can go through the steps again to put more of an edge on it, so let's try that. Okay, now it ought to cut so nicely. Well, it does. I don't know that it improved any over the first 5 times through, but it wouldn't cut this paper at all before. Seems to me the other thing they always test knives on is cutting tomatoes. So I have the unsharpened knife here. I'm going to try to cut this tomato. It's pretty firm. It doesn't want to go through the skin. Finally went through. Okay, now I'm going to try to cut a thin slice because I know that's tricky when the knife isn't sharp. Usually it just squishes the tomato. Okay, we finally got through the skin there. Knife's not as bad as I thought. Okay, let me clean this off, run it through the sharpener, because I'm not supposed to put it in with food on it, and we'll see if it improves. There we go. Feels like it's doing something when I hear that. Tomato, tomato. Whoa. Quite a difference. Yeah, I hardly have to put any pressure on it, and it goes right through the skin of the tomato. That's definitely a lot different after just that little bit of sharpening. And the instructions here are a little different again. They say to put the cutting edge of the scissors, again the one that's at an angle, towards the stone. So I've dialed this to scissors. I'm going to put it in here, pull it out, and then this one I'll have to flip over and do the same. Make a lot of contact there. I say to do this 3 times. Oh, they don't want to go together now. Okay, now they do, but they feel much tighter. Well, I can't show that the Swifty Sharp improved the scissors, but they feel more secure doing this. So I expect they will cut better now. I looked in this tray, figuring with all of that sharpening that's happened, there should be some shavings in here, but microscopic if there are. What I actually feel all over the desk here is, I don't know if it's metal shavings or maybe little bits of grit or sand from the sharpening wheel, but there's stuff all over here now. So I'm actually kind of impressed by the Swifty Sharp. I, again, have never bothered to sharpen our knives in 10 years, and I think this is actually an improvement. As for all the 1-star reviews on Amazon, could be because of the confusion of which way to hold it when you're doing the sharpening of the knives. People are doing it on the wrong side and maybe even damaging their knives. That might explain that. For $15, I would say I got pretty good results in sharpening my knives and also in sharpening a pair of scissors. And it is kind of strange when you think about it that the knives do go dull if all you ever cut with them is bread and tomato. That this is made of metal. Why does it get dull? Well, it's because of that razor sharp edge. It's so thin that in the process of cutting, some molecules of metal do come off into your food, and you presumably eat them, and then your knife needs sharpening. So when you go to the circus and you see the knife swallower who has that sharp edge halfway down his throat and pulls it back out and everyone applauds, he's got nothing on you. Think about where the pieces of your knife edge have been. You should have your own show. To my surprise, I'm giving the Swifty Sharp a thumbs up. It really does seem to work. The proof is in the cutting. If you'd like to find out more about it, I have a link to it down below this video. I'll be back with more gadgets and interesting products to review soon. You can keep checking back for those, or you can click that subscribe button down below. You'll get notified when our videos go up. See you on the next review.
Shopping is easy when you know what to buy. At EpicReviewGuys, we give it a try. What does the fox buy? Nobody knows, but before he goes shopping, he watches our video.